The High Court found that the ban does not violate constitutional rights.
Weapons effective immediately without any public comment whatsoever.
This bill was written with constitutionality in mind. It was based on bills in other states where the same ban has been upheld.
Supporting the law are celebrating today's ruling. We do expect to hear from both sides of the aisle today, all day today.
Case going on in the federal system. Truthfully, that's probably the one that's going to determine where this law ends up.
Nobody can seriously argue that you have to have this kind of a weapon for self-defense.
Alan Terrell, the state Supreme Court upholds the Protect Illinois Communities Act banning
Illinois gun registration lags. Picture this. In a state with over 2 million firearm owners, a mere 0.12% have jumped through the hoops to comply with the law. That's the jaw-dropping reality of Illinois' gun registration scene. As of November 12th, out of a staggering 2,415,481 FOID car holders, those licensed to own firearms, only a paltry 2,961 individuals have bothered to register even a single item. Let that sink in for a moment. Let's break it down. Picture yourself in a room of 1,000 people, all representing FOID card holders. One out of those 1,000, barely more than one person, raised their hand to say, "Yep, I've taken care of the registration bit." That's how scarce compliance is in Illinois. Now, what does all this mean? Well, it's not rocket science. When only a fraction of a percent have bothered to follow the law's registration requirements, it's a glaring red flag. It's a big flashing sign that screams, "Hey, there's a widespread disregard for this rule." Think about it. An overwhelming majority of firearm owners, those who should technically be lining up to register their items, are just not doing it. And that's not just a couple of folks here and there. That's a massive chunk of the gun-owning population saying, "Nah, not gonna do it."
The High Court found that the ban does not violate constitutional rights.
The Illinois Supreme Court upheld the state's ban on assault weapons. It was a 4-3 vote.
Turned into an outright ban of weapons effective immediately without any public comment whatsoever.
The implications of this low compliance? It's like a huge neon sign pointing towards widespread non-compliance. It's not just a few rebels standing against the system. It's a tidal wave of folks seemingly uninterested or unwilling to abide by the registration mandate. It's not just about filling out paperwork or jumping through bureaucratic hoops. This low registration rate signifies something bigger. It's a statement, a collective shrug that says, "We don't buy into this." Sure, on paper it's just a number, a decimal followed by a couple of digits, but in reality, it's a seismic reflection of public sentiment. It's a sign that the law, as it stands, isn't finding resonance among the very people it was meant for. The big question hanging in the air? Why? Why such abysmally low compliance? Is it distrust in the system, bureaucratic frustration, or simply a categorical rejection of this particular regulation? Whatever the reason, one thing's for sure, Illinois has got a registration mountain to climb, and it seems like they're stuck at base camp. Confiscation threat looms. All right, picture this. There's a looming deadline in Illinois, and it's not about filing your taxes or meeting a work project. It's about registering your guns. Specifically, those scary attack weapons that got the boot, courtesy of the Protect Illinois Community Act. The deal is simple. If you want to keep your hands on those banned firearms, you gotta hop on the registration train before the year's final curtain falls. Now, here's the kicker. Miss that deadline, and it's not just a slap on the wrist. Nope. It's a full-blown threat of confiscation. Yep, you heard that right. State officials aren't playing around. They're waving the confiscation flag for anyone who dares to skip the registration process. Imagine waking up one fine morning in the new year, sipping your coffee, and suddenly there's a knock on the door. Who could it be? Oh, just the state officials ready to take away your beloved firearms because you missed that registration boat? Sounds like a nightmare, right?
This bill was written with constitutionality in mind. It was based on bills in other states where the same ban has been upheld.
Nobody can seriously argue that you have to have this kind of a weapon for self-defense.
Your right to own a gun can also be restricted.
Well, for those who haven't registered, it's more of a potential reality. It's not just a warning, it's a flashing red light. It's like saying, "Hey, we mean business." And this isn't just about paperwork. It's about holding on to something that's more than just metal and parts. It's about a piece of ownership, a part of your rights as a gun owner. Sure, the law might seem straightforward. register or face the consequences, but it's more than that. It's a line drawn in the sand, a line that says, comply or lose it. And that's a tough pill to swallow for those who might have missed the memo, or those who stand firm against what they see as an infringement on their rights. So the clock's ticking, and for those who haven't taken that step to register, the threat of confiscation is like a storm cloud looming over their gun cabinets. Will the state follow through on this threat? Only time will tell, but for now, it's a warning that's causing quite the stir among Illinois firearm owners. Compliance isn't just about following the law, it's about holding on to something more profound: your rights and possessions. Controversy surrounds Protect Illinois Community Act. Illinois' Protect Illinois Community Act sounds all good and well, right? Well, not exactly. There's a whole bag of controversy swirling around this one. Imagine a hot potato that no one wants to handle. That's the level of heat this act is generating. First off, let's talk about the way it came to be. Blink and you might have missed it. This act zoomed through the legislative hoops faster than a sprinter in the Olympics. What's the rush, you ask? Well, that's the million-dollar question. The act swept in without giving the public a chance to say, hey, wait a minute, let's talk about this. Yeah, no public comment period whatsoever. Cue the raised eyebrows and puzzled expressions. Legislative due process? Apparently that wasn't part of the act's itinerary. And that's causing a stir because, well, democracy kinda likes to hear everyone's 2 cents before making big decisions. The lack of public input has folks scratching their heads and wondering why this act was in such a hurry to skip that crucial step. Now, on to the constitutionality rodeo. The Protect Illinois Community Act isn't just raising eyebrows, it's ringing constitutional alarm bells.
Case going on in the federal system. Truthfully, that's probably the one that's going to determine where this law ends up.
And so I'm just grateful for the Illinois Supreme Court following along with precedent and doing the right thing.
Supporting the law are celebrating today's ruling. We do expect to hear from both sides of the aisle today, all day today.
Even though the court had enjoined that law, and that firearm cannot be legally owned.
The biggie here? The Second Amendment. You know, that little part of the U.S. Constitution that talks about the right to bear arms. Yeah, that one. Folks are flipping through their law books, wondering if this act is crossing lines with the Second Amendment. It's like a legal tug-of-war, the act versus existing laws. Will they play nice, or will there be a legal showdown? Judicial corruption allegations. Now, hold on to your hats because we're diving into some real spicy allegations here. Judicial corruption, folks. Strap in because this isn't your run-of-the-mill controversy. This is some serious courtroom drama unfolding. So picture this. Whispers in the legal corridors suggesting potential shadiness within a judiciary support for the gun law. Yep, you heard that right. Allegations are floating around like sneaky rumors, hinting at potential misconduct among the very folks who are supposed to uphold the law.
The legislature can pass whatever it wants. It's just not going to stand up once it gets into the court.
The last 2 justices that were elected benefited greatly from political contributions from the governor. It's really hard to be realistic.
It's like peeling back the curtain on a mystery novel, revealing hints of behind-the-scenes dealings that could make any legal drama addict binge-watch in excitement. The big question on everyone's lips? Could there be some backdoor dealings influencing judicial decisions related to the gun law? And here's where it gets really juicy: financial influence. Oh yes, claims are swirling that money talks, especially in legal circles. Allegations hint at the possibility of financial sway or favors, nudging judges' decisions in favor of the controversial gun law. Imagine a legal decision not solely based on justice and law, but possibly influenced by a whisper in the ear or a greased palm. It's like a plot line straight out of a legal thriller. The idea that money or favors could tip the scales of justice, it's the stuff that keeps lawyers up at night. Now, are these allegations just smoke without fire? Could be, but they're the kind of accusations that raise eyebrows and demand a closer look. It's like a spotlight shining on the judiciary, asking some tough questions about ethics, integrity, and the true balance of justice in legal decisions related to this contentious gun law. Second Amendment concerns. The Second Amendment. Always stirring up debates and concerns. Let's dive into the heart of the matter, where the Second Amendment community finds itself in a bit of a pickle. Imagine being in a room filled with Second Amendment advocates, and the vibe? Well, it's a mix of unease and frustration. The reason? The stagnant waters of firearm registration in Illinois are sending ripples of concern through this community. Here's the crux of the issue. When only a tiny fraction of gun owners are rolling up their sleeves to register their firearms, it's not just a bureaucratic hiccup, it's like a flag waving, signaling a storm ahead. And that storm? It's brewing unease among those who hold the Second Amendment close to their hearts.
The Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, Mr. President, as you well know,
Alan Terrell, the state Supreme Court upholds the Protect Illinois Communities Act banning assault weapons.
When has J.B. Pritzker ever let the Constitution get in the way of doing anything?
Picture this tug-of-war between exercising your rights and playing by the rules. On one side, there's the firm belief in the right to bear arms, a fundamental part of the American fabric. On the other side, there's this state law demanding registration, and it seems like a significant chunk of the gun-owning populace is saying, not feeling it. So here's where the rubber meets the road. The balance between asserting your Second Amendment rights and towing the line with state laws is like trying to walk on a tightrope while juggling bowling balls, a delicate act that's got everyone in the community scratching their heads. Because let's face it, folks in the Second Amendment community aren't just worried about paperwork and red tape, it's about principles, beliefs, and the essence of their rights as gun owners. It's about finding that sweet spot where exercising those rights aligns with following the law, and right now, that spot seems elusive. There's a buzz in the air, debates firing up, and discussions circling around the intersection of rights, compliance, and a law that doesn't seem to be hitting the mark. It's not just about registration stats, it's about the soul of the Second Amendment and where it stands amidst this quagmire of low registration rates. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.